Okay, Andy, I just wanted the Norwegian people to get to know you a little bit and yes, maybe see the man behind the big titles and the great books and everything.
Very kind.
Yeah. An Instagram post I saw from this summer.
Yes.
Gives the impression that you are at the top level regarding how to pack a Volvo.
Absolutely, Anne Christine. If you want a man to pack a Volvo, I am the man. We have an elderly Volvo 940 that's been in our family for years. My wife's parents had it, and then we had it. And every summer when we take the kids up and down the country, the amount of stuff you can get into an old Volvo. So yeah, she's 26 years old. She's got 250,000 miles on the clock, and she's still going strong. So they know how to build cars.
It was very impressive. So there was no empty spaces. It was just full packed.
No room for the children either. We just put them in sideways.
Good. Can you tell us a bit about yourself? Who is Andy?
There's a question. So I'm Andy Bannister, and I wear a number of hats. The biggest one is I run an organisation here in the UK called SOLAS, the SOLAS Centre for Public Christianity. Solas is the Scottish word, the Gaelic word meaning sunlight. And so we like the imagery of the light of the kind of gospel going out. And we specialize in two things. We like taking the message of Jesus out of the four walls of churches and into places like cafes and restaurants and pubs and business places and universities. And then we also teach and train and equip Christians how to do the same. So that's what I spend my time doing, basically engaging people often without a Christian faith, helping answer their tough questions, show them why I think faith in Jesus makes sense, and helping Christians feel more confident about talking to their friends, neighbours and colleagues. And then I do a bit of writing, a bit of broadcasting, and try and keep two small children under control when I'm not doing those things.
Just a little bit things to do then.
A few things, they're tiny things to do.
But how did you get involved in Christian apologetics?
Yes, the backstory for me and Christine is that in the late 1990s, I was a youth worker at a group for some churches in London, hadn't thought about public evangelism, hadn't thought about apologetics, and got persuaded by a friend to go along to a place in London called Speaker's Corner. And Speaker's Corner is part of one of our big parks in London, where on a Sunday afternoon you could stand on a ladder or a box, or if you're my height, 2 boxes and a ladder, and speak about anything. And so Christians were using this particularly as a platform to reach and witness to Muslims. And so I gave it a go and tried my first attempt at preaching on the street, and it was a total disaster, utter disaster, because the Muslims were very practiced at taking Christians apart. I knew nothing. I had no means of defending my faith. I remember going home thinking, maybe I need to become a Muslim because they have everything. I have nothing. But before doing anything so crazy, I went to a local Christian bookstore the next day, told them my story, and their wise words were, what you need is apologetics. And I never heard of this word. It sounded to me like a breakfast cereal, something sort of healthy to have with your muesli. And so I bought a couple of books, read them, read a bit more, and I went back to Speaker's Corner 2 weeks later with answers to every question they'd asked. And would you believe it? They had new questions, and I looked stupid all over again. But for the next 3 months, that's what I would do. I would read during the week, would go to Speaker's Corner on the weekend, engage Muslims and a few atheists and others who were there. And I just fell in love with the kind of public defense of the Christian faith, really engaging people's questions, really working hard to do that. And kind of one thing led to another, and that eventually led to theological study and eventually led to a PhD in Quranic studies. Actually, I'm unusual as a Christian. My PhD is in Islam, not in the Christian faith, because I wanted to dig really deeply into what my friends believed. And so that's where it all began. All began on a kind of rainy sort of a September afternoon at Speaker's Corner in London in 1997, and the rest is history, as they say.
Great. Do you think it's more important today than just some years ago?
I think it's always been important. I think people have always had questions about the Christian faith, both inside and outside the church. I think today, though, I think it's probably is ever more important for a number of reasons. One is I think some of the questions have multiplied. Particularly around some of the ethical questions around Christianity. As society has changed and as science particularly has advanced, some of the ethical questions, we're now dealing with things like artificial intelligence, transhumanism, all those kind of pieces that as Christians we can run into. And then, of course, we have the internet. So people it's very easy to come across skepticism and challenges to your faith, and so on and so forth. And so I think both in terms of being able to share your faith with others as a Christian and explain what you believe, but also within the church, I think especially for young people in university student ages, being able to explain to them why the Christian faith is persuasive, that we don't just believe because we believe, but there are good reasons, is hugely, hugely important. So yeah, always been important, and historically Christians have defended their faith for 2,000 years. But I think there's an urgency in these days that there wasn't perhaps a couple of decades ago.
Great. What would you say are the key parts to your present ministry?
Oh, now there's a question. So, well, of course, there was an answer to that question 6 months ago, and then COVID happened and everything changed.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a lot of organisations, we moved everything online and began doing a lot of webinars and so forth. So I'd certainly say a key part of my ministry right now is digital. We're always looking for ways to innovate in the digital space. So for years now, we produce these short videos. We call them short answer videos that many people have seen. Millions of people are now watch those, where we take a tough question and try and address it in 3 to 4 minutes. But in the last 6 months, we've also moved into webinars and doing even things like university missions and things online. So lots of digital stuff right now, and always thinking as a team about how we can actually engage folks who don't have a Christian faith. There's a big Muslim part to my ministry as well. Lots of stuff in terms of engaging Muslims, equipping Christians to engage Muslims. Teaching and training, we're finding lots of ways right now to be engaging the church, and so looking forward to doing that conference in Norway shortly. I will be remote, but at least we'll be doing it. And then the writing piece as well. I've always enjoyed writing, and so yeah, obviously we may talk in a moment about that book that's just been translated into Norwegian. But there's also, I've just finished another book for IVP called Do Muslims and Christians Worship the Same God? And that was a great fun writing that one, and that comes out in March. So a bit of writing in there as well.
You've been productive during the Corona time then.
Well, when you're kind of stuck at your desk, right, you have to think about ways to use the time. So yeah, finally got a book done. The publisher was excited. They'd been nagging me for 4 years to do this new one, and finally coronavirus came, and there was nothing to do but write. So got it sort of done.
Time and space, yeah. Do you have any fun facts about yourself that not many people know?
Well, yeah, what would not many people know? Not many people might know that a couple of strange facts that people won't know about me. I'm a mountaineer, and it was my hobby, and anyone who follows me on Facebook can see that. But not many people will know that I actually got as far as Everest in 2007. Not to the top, I admit, but base camp, which was very exciting. So that was a kind of sort of real kind of sort of thing on my bucket list. And then the other kind of fun fact is that my very first attempts at public speaking, before the apologetics and youth work and everything else, I actually dabbled in sort of stand-up magic, circus skills, and stand-up comedy, circus skills, and conjuring for a while. So I would do all kinds of sort of things in that kind of entertainment area. So yeah, I learned public speaking doing stand-up comedy, which I don't think goes for many people. That probably comes, some people would say that probably comes through in the speaking today. You know, Andy Bannister, failed comedian. That should be on my resume.
Great.